presidential candidates Marco Rubio and Rand Paul getting into a heated exchange, meanwhile, over military spending. Watch.
I know that Rand is a committed isolationist. I'm not. I believe the world is a stronger and a better place when the United States is the strongest military power in the world.
Marco, how is it conservative? How is it conservative to add $1 trillion expenditure for the federal government that you're not paying for? How is it conservative? How is it conservative to add $1 trillion in military expenditures? You cannot be a conservative if you're going to keep promoting new programs that you're not going to pay for.
I may respond.
All right, I want to bring in Andy Card, former White House Chief of Staff under President George W. Bush, and our own Dagan McDowell. Andy, what's your reaction to Senator Rand Paul's accusations of Senator Marco Rubio? Does he have a point? Is he an isolationist?
Rand Paul is definitely an isolationist, and Marco Rubio is a breath of fresh air in this whole debate. He's giving an interesting perspective. I still think that, Rand Paul is not going to be the president. I don't see his candidacy surviving in the primary, and I think that he would not be a viable candidate in the general election because of his isolationist views, where he doesn't feel that we have a responsibility around the world, and we do carry the torch. I don't think it's been carried very well by President Obama, but the United States still has the torch of responsibility around the world, and as Prime Minister Tony Blair said in his biography, America must always lead. Nobody else will, and that means we cannot be isolationist, and I think Rand Paul is, in fact, an isolationist.
Yeah, and Senator Brown, that's basically what Governor Bush said last night, right? He said, look, I mean, we don't want to be the policeman of the world, but we've got to be the leader.
Well, I thought he nailed it. And if you just check out Rand's votes on a lot of the issues, not only affecting aid to our allies and some people are not, we don't have quite a good relationship to, he wants to restructure the military. So I don't disagree what Marco said at all. And I think that exchange, for me, being in the military for 35 years, was one of the best exchanges. We do need to be the world's leader, because when we're not there, there's a void.
There is a difference between being an I want to defend him for a moment.
Yeah.
Being an isolationist versus being a non-interventionist. And I think there is a big wing within the Republican Party that says, look, after Iraq, after Afghanistan, maybe we should reconsider when we send troops around the world. And the question of whether we should be the world's policeman.
And to that point, listen, I think we absolutely need to be the leader, because if we're not, guess what? China and Russia will step in. There's not just a void.
Syria. Look what just
either
happened.
America leads
Russia?
or gangsters lead. And Rubio was great when he said Putin is a gangster, and he is. Yeah. But also to your point, Steve, and I do think Rand Paul, I think unfortunately he showed us last night that he's more his dad than we thought, and that's too
good,
bad.
Actually, he could use his dad's numbers.
Well, which, his dad's a great man of ideas, but could never win a national election. But he does have a point that as conservatives, we can't say we hate government, we love endless military spending. No, but even the military is still government. We have to be judicious. There's enormous waste. We have to be judicious. We have to be the world's leader, but we can't endlessly spend on the Pentagon either.
Well, I think this is a good point, but Andy Card, jump in here, because, it's a different world today, isn't it? I mean, you've got ISIS, you've got all of the, I mean, we had a stat that terrorism, is up 61% in the last year. Deaths are confined to 5 countries. Yeah.
The world is a very dangerous place, and it will become more dangerous if America does not lead. And you cannot lead from behind. You have to lead by being engaged, and you actually have to make investments in finding paths to, I'm going to say, responsible behavior. We have a world that doesn't show up at a negotiating table to negotiate a peace treaty. So we're dealing with terrorists and thugs and mobs and Islamic State caliphate builders, and those aren't people that show up in Geneva to negotiate a solution. They actually have to deal with the reality of the world.
But what does that mean for the
it means we have to prioritize.
Well,
we have to prioritize
first of all,
our needs, and we don't prioritize.
Go ahead, Andy, and then I want to get Dagan McDowell. Go ahead, Andy.
No, we need to spend more money on intelligence. We did not know what the Russians were planning to do in Syria until they started to do it. So that, to me, shows that we've got to do more on intelligence just to figure out what's likely to happen with these other world powers that are now starting to play where we had a responsibility to play before and they didn't play. Now they're playing.
Well, we know our leadership
we've got to do a better job.
We know our leadership didn't know. Dagan McDowell, back in the 2012 election, Barack Obama mocked Mitt Romney when Mitt Romney said that Russia was the one to watch. He called him a Cold War dinosaur.
And by the way, you know who sounded like President Obama last night a little bit? Donald Trump. When you talk about letting Russia fight ISIS and getting out of the way and then focus on infrastructure spending, just a little note, infrastructure is a word that I think President Obama has used in every single speech that he's ever given about the economy since he took office in 2009. So you have to be very careful. He sounds strong defense some, but then he doesn't other times, and he needs to figure out what his game plan is down the road.
All right, we will leave it there. Thank you, Andy Card. Go ahead, Andy Card. Final word.
No, I think the interesting thing about the debate last night, we saw lots of great ideas put forward on the economy. Yep. This is really a team of ideas, and the Democrats don't have a team of ideas. They just march in lockstep to some philosophy.
That's true.
A team of ideas. So we can take a lot of good ideas, even from the undercard, never mind the main card, and we can have a pretty good team of policy that will be put in place when we have a new president with the Republican label on his name leading this country. And I think the most presidential person in the debate was Jeb Bush, and I'm comfortable saying that because I think that he has got the ability to listen, lead, and be decisive when he has to be decisive. So, and he's not looking to generate emotion, he's looking to provide leadership. So I thought he was the winner, but there were lots of great ideas there, and many of those ideas can show up even if the individuals aren't the ones that are going to be the president of the United States.
All right, we'll leave it there. Andy Card, Dagan McDowell. We'll see you later, Dagan. Thank you. Andy, thanks for joining us.